All right, we're finishing the Sikha of the Rebbe on the Haftorah of Parshas Kitisa. It's in the first book of the Sikhas of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he points out a very distressing fact in this story. What was the story? All the Jewish people in Israel were worshiping a god which was called the Baal. And Elijah the prophet, I don't know if all the people, but certainly a tremendous number, seemingly the vast majority. And God sends Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu, and he confronts all the people and tells them to stop, and they said, no way. So he said, okay, let's make a duel. My God against your God. You build a big altar, and I'll build a big altar. You put on your altar sacrifices, I'll put on my altar sacrifices. Whoever can bring fire from heaven wins. Okay? Hershel, you with me? So they made a big altar. They have all their priests, hundreds of priests for the Baal, and they're dancing and they're praying and they're whatever is it? They're prostrating and they're yelling and screaming, and finally they start even gashing their flesh and blood is coming out. And the Baal doesn't answer them. There's no fire comes from heaven. And so Elijah the prophet says, maybe he's asleep. Yell louder. So they're yelling and going crazy. It doesn't work. So it's already getting near the end of the day. So it says, Elijah the prophet says, okay, listen guys, you ready? He turns to all the people and he says these very shocking words. He says, how long will you continue standing on two doorsteps, worshiping the Baal and worshiping God? If God is right, worship him. If Baal is right, worship him. So he turns around, he says, God, answer me. Aneni Hashem Aneni. Answer me, God, answer me. And a big fire comes out from heaven and devours not only the sacrifices on the rocks, but also all the rocks. Everything. And all the people see that they never expected something like this. A total defeat of their side and an amazing victory of the other side. And they all bowed down and they said, Hashem Elokim, Hashem Elokim. Okay, but still leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Why did Elijah the prophet say to the people, if the Baal is right, worship him? How could he have said a thing like that? He could have said, listen, I'm the prophet of God. There's only one God. He creates the whole world. He creates your gods. Worship only God. Stop worshiping the Baal. How could he say, if the Baal is right, worship him? So the Rebbe says the point is that he was trying to get them away from the idea that it's okay to worship God and something else, or something else, idolatry, together with God. In a way, it's better they should worship just idols and not both. Of course, you can't encourage someone to worship idols, but on the other hand, look what Elijah the prophet said. He knew where the people were at. He knew that they wanted to worship idols. But what? They were worshiping idols together with God in order to comfort themselves. Okay, ready? Let's go. Yesh Eifo Ladat. Let's say, we'll take it from Tet Zion. We did this before, but let's do it. HaGemora Omer, the Gemara says, Shekocho shel Yetzer Hara, the power of the selfish, evil inclination, shel avodah zora, of idolatry, has been nullified. It has been nullified. Good? It says that the Yetzer Hara for idolatry was so strong. It was stronger than any we can imagine. Nowadays people go crazy for money, for pleasures. They go berserk for money and for pleasures, for honor, popularity, power. People go berserk for these things. They're willing to do anything. they'll lie, they go against all of the principles that they tell everybody else are pristine, and I just say unassailable, right? Murder, you can't murder. These people are willing to murder, they're willing to steal, they're willing to do everything. But in those days, back then, they also had the same Yetzer, but in addition to it, even more was the Yetzer Hora, was the desire to worship idols. For some reason, it was infinitely greater than any of the desires we have today. Here you see big presidents. The president of the United States gets caught with this lady. He couldn't hold himself back. Impossible. Couldn't do it. Such a tremendous pleasure he has, right? People embezzle money. They'll go do anything for crazy, for power, for fame. They'll do anything, right? Well, as insane as that is, back then, the desire for idolatry was 10 times more insane. People just could not hold themselves back. It was such a tremendous satisfaction and pleasure that people got from going to doing idols, and so uncomfortable if they didn't do it, if they were tempted and didn't feel it, they just couldn't hold themselves back. So it says, good. What happened was, it says, the Anshe Kadesh Gadol, or whatever it is, they said, before the second temple, they said, listen, if this continues on, we're not going to have a temple. We're going to have a temple. Let us negate it. So they all fasted, and it said they destroyed the desire for idolatry. The desire for other things, okay, but desire for idolatry really got out of hand. So they said, we'll do it. Said, but Inyan shal pesicha al shtei seifim chazak gamata min yetzer hora shel avodah zarah. Nowadays, the desire to worship two powers, God together with something else, is greater than the desire to worship idols. Gam bedakot dagapa, even though it's very, very fine way, in bedakot or b'midiyatera mizah, sometimes it's very, very blatant. You can get people who are religious and they claim to, and they really are religious, and they do idolatry. What does it mean, idolatry? They worship themselves. They worship themselves. People worship themselves. Yesh ke'ilu, there are some people shemishum penius gashmius that because of ulterior motives, for let's say money or honor or popularity or pleasure or mayom robrios, or because they're worried about what people will say about them, mevatrim em lefishal kama v'kam inyanim shel Torah v'mitzvos. They claim to be big rabbis and they do it in the name of Judaism, but they are willing to erase several of the commandments. Doesn't look nice. What are you putting boxes on your arm? Not going to be popular. What, you're going to eat kosher food? Can't eat with everybody else? You're going to not very successful. You're going to close your store down on Shabbos. Lemispar yamim lemispar shvuos mamirim et shulchan aruch yachad im HaKadosh Baruch Hu kiviyachol al hamadaf. For a few days or a few weeks or even longer, they take the whole book of Jewish law with God together, who's the author, and put them on the shelf. Kadei shelo yomer al adam zeh, so that no one will say about him, shehu batlan, that he is a religious person, he relies on God, he is not a practical person, he is not to be given any sort of position, because he believes in God, and obviously he's going to let God do it, and the whole thing is going to, everything he does gets wrecked. She'enu mevin et mizmanim, he doesn't understand the times that are now, the new times. Ube'ikar sheba America, in America, yesh lavater al dvarim yeshanim. In America, they say you have to give up on the old things. Yesh lisnaeg b'miktsas lifnei ruach hazman. You have to act according to the spirit of the time. That's what it says about Torah and mitzvahs. And there are a lot of people that are like that. Incredible. And it becomes huge movements of people that are like that. You can't be, I look and see, right? They're ashamed that they're Jewish, they're ashamed to have a beard, they're ashamed to have tzitzis, they're ashamed to keep Shabbos, they're ashamed to do the mid. But you go into the grocery store and you see that who runs the grocery store? A Pakistani. And the Pakistani has a big blue turban on, and he has a beard, and he has different clothes, and he's not ashamed at all. And even more, you sort of admire him for it. The other person has his, he's not putting on these clothes because he wants to hate everybody, he wants to kill everybody. But hopefully. But he's doing it because that's his identity. Everybody respects him. Right? So why don't we do it? Doesn't make any sense. But that's what people have. That's called idolatry. People worship God, but they worship themselves together. Umishum kachem, because of this, kadei in order shelo yomer alav shehu batlan, so that they won't say about this person, so they won't say about me that I am a, what do you say? A batlan. What's a batlan? A good for nothing. There must be a better, Shlamazel. Religious guy. Why is he religious? Because it must be he trusts God, because he can't do anything else, right? He can't do anything, so he says God will do it, and then he makes it into a big virtue, right? He's really virtuous. I'm letting God do everything. The fact is he can't do anything anyway. So that's what everybody thinks. Kadei sheyelo kavod maduma, so that people will give him honor, kesef, or additional money, right? Imagine if the prime minister of Israel suddenly grew a beard, started putting on tefillin. They think the guy is nuts. In Israel, they would think he's out of his mind. Maybe a Knesset member can do it because he represents the religious parties. So he has to put on the proper clothes and look religious, right? But not this. Just one moment, 1 minute. It's my wife. I'm doing a big mitzvah now. Kain Rachel. בשמחה, את יכול רק לכתוב לי שאני לא אשכח? No. Seder. Very important. Okay. To be, not make trouble with your wife. Very important. Let this go down for eternity on the video that everyone should know. Maybe more important than the class, maybe. You know what? I hope my wife didn't hear that. It's certainly more important than the class, no doubt about it. Therefore, what happens? People worship. What is idolatry? Idolatry, the Rebbe explained it before. Idolatry is pure selfishness. A person worships whatever pays off. Right? Whatever pays off, that's what they worship. Muslim Christians were a Christian. Whatever works out, that's what they go after. Right? That's called idolatry. In Russia, communist government came out, all the religious people left. Either they left Russia or they left their Judaism. Right? They left once, but they couldn't get together. There was Chabad stood strong. They say Breslov also stood strong, right? But Breslov was much smaller, and they didn't really have a leader, and they were not so organized as Chabad. Chabad had a very strong leader, and he made war against the communists, right? And Breslov and the others, they just held on, which is an impossible task, but they did, and most of them died. They say they were all killed off. But nevertheless, when pressure comes, then people throw away Judaism. And when there's no pressure, even more people throw away Judaism. When they went to America, so all of a sudden everybody started worrying about maybe there's going to be pressure. I should put the trufa lifnei hamaka. I have to put the medicine before the disease. So I'll act like everybody else, and then everything will be okay. Then mishum kach, therefore, kadesh lo yomru alav, in order that the person said kadesh yeh kavod meduma, in order that he will have his imaginary honor or picture in the paper or kesef nosaf or a few more zeros in his bank account. Shala amito shala davar mizbon mitbazbez haschum l'refoim. And the fact of the matter is, a person that is willing to give up his values, his true principles, in order to make more money, he never really enjoys that money anyway. Mostly because he just keeps it all for himself. So he's got what can you do? How many steaks can you eat? Because the money he earns is not according to what God wants. So the money goes to improper things, right? He all of a sudden must buy himself a Borghini. What is a Borghini? It is a type of car. Not a Ferrari, no way. He had that last year. Now he has to have a Borghini. What is he wasting all this money for? wasting money, you call this? This is what I want. What I want is holy. Who says? Because it's missing God's blessing to bless him and also to protect him. Moving, so it's understood, if they shot at least temporarily, limchor at the Kodesh Baruch Hu, he sells God and his soul for popularity, or for power, or for pleasure, or for what? Out of control. Yesh eif oladat shebapratim rabim gurua adavar mi'avodah zora mi'atamim. Worshipping God together with worshiping yourself in some ways is worse than just being a total egotist. Just be a total egotist. Don't do half and half. Why? First of all, it's very difficult for a person to really change himself and return to serving God. He doesn't really feel that he did such a big sin. He is able to fool himself. Not such a big sin. He does mitzvahs in general. Here the Rebbe is talking about even to the Chassidim. I do Torah and mitzvahs, I keep Shabbos, I put on tefillin, I serve God 99% of the time. Right? Like we said, in America they say honesty is the best policy sometimes. Right? Is honesty the best policy? Of course. But you have to sort of, move with the times. Once in a while, when you really need to, then you can be dishonest. Who says that? Who knows when the time is? And then that time, when it's dishonest, becomes bigger and bigger until you don't even know the difference between what is dishonest and what is honest. I know people, they don't know what the truth is. They don't even know. They don't know. The people, especially you see, it's one of the signs, it's one of the, traits of addicts. People who are addicted to anything. There's a whole big gamut of hundreds of things, maybe thousands, that people can get addicted to. Addicts are liars. You with me, Mr. Schmidt? Addicts are liars. They live in a false world, and because of their false world, their world becomes real, and that becomes the truth. That becomes the truth. Gambling is the truth. Drinking is the truth. So therefore, everything becomes readjusted in order to fit this truth. So anything which will enable them to drink or to gamble or to whatever they're addicted to, that's true, that's good. And anything that stands in their way is bad. So they're willing to lie and to cheat and to do all sorts of crazy things. And if you catch them and make them realize that they're lying, so they, ignore it. Number one, a person who worships himself and God, so he thinks it's not so bad. At least I'm worshiping God once in a while. I have a kippah on my head. I put on tefillin. So what if I cheat? What if I lie? Number two, hu mushchat. The person himself is not just two people. It becomes one rotten person. What do you mean rotten person? He has no values. Hu mamir dvorim ruchanim shem nitzchim. That suddenly he trades spiritual and eternal things, but devorim gashmim for physical things, she'enom el lefi usha, which are only temporary. Hu muchan mocher et olam haba. He's willing to sell everything spiritual, everything eternal, for honor or for kavod, for respect. Number three, hu machti et arabim. He makes other people sin. If the person would come out and say, don't believe in God, then everyone in the synagogue would kick him out, right? The Reform rabbi says, don't believe in God anymore, right? And we don't want anything to do with Judaism. They'll kick him out. So what does he do? He says, no, we have to be Jewish and we have to do what God wants. And what does God want? Whatever we want. When he puts the things in the terms of Torah, and he puts all sorts of reasons that temporarily we can change, it's not so bad. right? We have to live with the times. The Torah isn't evolving, it evolves. Then he even brings proofs for what he's doing. Then he's making the masses sin. Okay, Herschel. Therefore, there's a teaching in the Parsha of the week. Says Elijah the prophet, Ad matayatem poschem al shtei seifim. How long will you stand on two door entrances? This is worse than idolatry. God forbid that a person, he wasn't trying to tell everybody to do idolatry. But he was trying to say to them, if you were doing idolatry, you're not going to stop on your own. But if you ever do want to stop, it'll only be because you don't worship God together with it. Okay, you with me? Ukashem sha'az shabo call b'nei Yisrael, that everyone, all the Jewish people, when they saw the fire come down, they all yelled out Hashem Elokim, Hashem Elokim, that God is the king. God is the king. Even more than Matan Torah. And Matan Torah, when they heard it said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am God, your God. Like we explained a lot of different times, in some ways it was even higher. Them doing tshuva was even higher than when they received the Torah. That's the whole story of Purim. Not only twice, it says kiflayim. There's twice as much power for a person who does tshuva, not just twice as much in quantity, but also twice as much in quality. Shapam, the second time, is a much higher level than the first time. The second time, he certainly is not going to return to his mistake. Okay, you with me, Hirsch? Kach also is now. All those people who are standing on two steps, they what do we say? Reform Judaism, conservative Judaism, modern Judaism. They're Jews, and they are proud that they're Jews, and they are Jews, but on the other hand, they're not so proud. They're also proud that they're human beings, and they just want to have a good time, etc. Yisrael Arevim Zebazeh, all Jews are connected one to the other, and all Jews are responsible one for the other. All right, Herschel. Kach she'or lo yizku al yedei tshuva, that when a person does return to Hashem, this also will be drawn down to those Jews that he made sin. Right? By me opening up this Reform temple or whatever is temple, I made a lot of Jews do sins. But I say I brought them also close to God. Good, but you did, but you excused their sins. You said, okay, so if I do tshuva, it will also have effect on all of these other Jews that I made sin. Yitain, may God only give us that this should be in kindness and in mercy. That all those people who make others sin and trip up will all do tshuva in a doubled and a redoubled way. And everyone, the whole world will say, Hashem Elokim, Hashem Elokim, God is the King, God is the King.